The D.B. Cooper Mystery, America's greatest unsolved hijacking. It was the day before Thanksgiving, November 24th, 1971. Portland International Airport was bustling with holiday travelers eager to reach their destinations. Among them was a man in his mid-40s wearing a dark suit, black tie, and sunglasses. He walked calmly to the Northwest Orient Airlines counter and purchased a one-way ticket to Seattle under the name Dan Cooper. Nobody gave him a second glance. He seemed like just another businessman heading home for the holidays. But this man was about to pull off one of the most audacious crimes in American history, a crime that would baffle investigators for decades and turn him into a legend. At approximately 2:50 p.m., Flight 305 took off from Portland with 36 passengers aboard. The man calling himself Dan Cooper sat in seat 18C near the rear of the Boeing 727. He ordered a bourbon and soda, lit a cigarette, and appeared completely relaxed. About 20 minutes into the flight, he handed a note to flight attendant Florence Schaffner. At first, she thought it was just another passenger trying to flirt with her. She smiled politely and tucked the note into her pocket without reading it. But Cooper leaned toward her and said quietly, "Miss, you'd better look at that note. I have a bomb." Florence's hands trembled as she unfolded the paper. The message was direct and chilling. "I have a bomb in my briefcase. I will use it if necessary. I want you to sit next to me. You are being hijacked." Her heart pounding, Florence sat down beside him. Cooper opened his briefcase just enough for her to see what appeared to be red cylinders, wires, and a large battery. It looked exactly like what she imagined a bomb would look like. He was calm, almost polite, as he laid out his demands. He wanted $200,000 in $20 bills, 4 parachutes, and a fuel truck standing by in Seattle to refuel the aircraft. If his demands weren't met, he would detonate the bomb. Florence hurried to the cockpit and informed Captain William Scott of the situation. The captain immediately contacted air traffic control, and within minutes, the FBI was notified. The plane circled above Puget Sound for nearly 2 hours, while authorities on the ground scrambled to meet Cooper's demands. During this time, Cooper remained eerily calm. He even ordered another bourbon. Meanwhile, in Seattle, FBI agents and Northwest Orient Airlines officials were working frantically. The airline gathered the ransom money, 10,000 $20 bills, and their serial numbers were photographed. They also obtained 4 parachutes, 2 primary chutes, and 2 reserve chutes from a local skydiving school. At 5:39 p.m., Flight 305 finally landed at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. Cooper's instructions were precise. The plane was to remain on a remote section of the tarmac with its engines running. A single employee would approach the aircraft to deliver the money and parachutes. All passengers would then be released. The exchange went exactly as planned. Florence Schaffner delivered the ransom and parachutes to Cooper, and all 36 passengers were allowed to leave, along with 2 of the 3 flight attendants. Only Florence, 1 other attendant, and the flight crew remained. Cooper then issued his next set of demands. The plane was to take off and fly toward Mexico City at the minimum possible speed, around 200 miles per hour, with the landing gear down, wing flaps lowered to 15 degrees, and the cabin unpressurized. The rear air stair door was to remain unlocked. Captain Scott tried to explain that the aircraft couldn't make it to Mexico City without refueling, so they agreed on a flight plan to Reno, Nevada. At approximately 7:40 p.m., Flight 305 took off again, heading south into the darkness. Cooper ordered the remaining crew to stay in the cockpit with the door closed. He was now alone in the passenger cabin with $200,000 and 4 parachutes. Somewhere over the wilderness of southwestern Washington, at around 8 p.m., a warning light indicated that the rear air stair had been activated. The crew felt a sudden change in air pressure. Cooper had jumped. When the plane landed in Reno at 10:15 p.m., FBI agents stormed aboard. The cabin was empty. Cooper was gone. All that remained were his black tie, a few of the parachutes he didn't use, and 8 cigarette butts in the ashtray of seat 18C. He had vanished into the night with $200,000 strapped to his body, jumping from a commercial airliner at 10,000 feet into a raging rainstorm over rugged, heavily forested terrain. The FBI launched one of the most extensive manhunts in American history. They combed the wilderness below the flight path, interviewed hundreds of witnesses, and followed thousands of leads. The investigation was codenamed NORJAC, for Northwest Hijacking. Despite their efforts, no trace of Cooper was found. No parachute, no body, no evidence whatsoever. The case grew colder with each passing year, but it never lost its grip on the American imagination. Who was D.B. Cooper? The name itself was actually a media mistake. A reporter confused Dan Cooper with another suspect named D.B. Cooper, and the incorrect name stuck. Was he a military veteran with parachute training? A daredevil seeking thrills? A desperate man with nothing to lose? Then, in February 1980, 9 years after the hijacking, a young boy named Brian Ingram was playing along the banks of the Columbia River near Vancouver, Washington. While digging in the sand, he uncovered 3 packets of badly decomposed $20 bills. The serial numbers matched. It was Cooper's ransom money. But this discovery raised more questions than it answered. How did the money end up there, miles from the suspected jump zone? Was Cooper injured or killed in the jump and his body washed downriver? Or did he survive and somehow lose part of his loot? The FBI continued investigating for 45 years, making it one of the longest unsolved cases in the Bureau's history. In 2016, they officially suspended active investigation, though they said they would still review any credible physical evidence that emerged. Over the decades, numerous suspects were identified. Some claimed to be Cooper on their deathbeds. Others were named by family members who discovered suspicious evidence. But none of the theories have ever been definitively proven. To this day, the questions remain. Did D.B. Cooper survive his death-defying leap into the darkness? Did he live out his days in anonymity, his incredible secret buried with him? Or did he perish in the wilderness, his body and the money lost forever in the rugged terrain of the Pacific Northwest? What we do know is that D.B. Cooper changed aviation forever. His hijacking led to immediate security upgrades. Airports installed metal detectors. Airlines added security procedures that we now take for granted. The rear air stair on Boeing 727s was modified with what became known as the Cooper vein, making it impossible to open during flight. The legend of D.B. Cooper endures because it captures something deep in the human imagination. A lone figure, calm under pressure, who outwitted the system and disappeared without a trace. Was he a criminal mastermind or a reckless fool who got lucky? A folk hero or a dangerous hijacker who could have killed innocent people? Perhaps we'll never know the truth. And maybe that's why the story continues to fascinate us more than 50 years later. On a rainy November night in 1971, somewhere over the forests of Washington, a man stepped into the darkness and into immortality. The mystery of D.B. Cooper remains unsolved, one of America's greatest enigmas, a puzzle that may never be completed. And somewhere out there, in the mountains and rivers of the Pacific Northwest, the final pieces of the story may still be waiting to be discovered.